Hello, in this video we're going to look at using frames in InDesign Creative Cloud. So frames are basically things that you can use as placeholders for content that you are going to add to your publication or to your document. So you can use frames as placeholders for images that you'll add later on, and frames can come in handy when you're placing things like images around your publications and around your different pages as well. So to get started, to add a frame, I've got this tool here on the toolbar on the left hand side here. Okay, I'll move the mouse over that and it comes up with rectangle frame tool. But you can long press that and choose from the ellipse frame tool or polygon frame tool as well. But when you grab the rectangle frame tool, we'll use that for the first example, you can then click and drag onto your page to create a frame, and it will have an X in that frame. Okay, so say that I want to have a image here, and then I want to have two smaller images here, and then another large image down here. I can use these frame holders for I can use these frames as placeholders to add those images later on, and just to set up my layout on this page. So I have a frame here and I can move that around a little bit. I can resize that to exactly how I want it to be. Now then I can create another frame over here. Right, so I've got another frame here, but I actually want to align it with the top of this frame here. So I haven't actually drawn it exactly where I want it to be. I want this frame here to align with the top of this frame here. And that's where you'd want to use the Align toolbar. So if you go to Window, Object and Layout, and then Align, bring up the Align toolbar, just leave it there. I can select both shapes by holding down Shift, and then I can choose Align, but I need to pick the right one. So I've got Align Left Edges, Align Horizontal Centers, Align Right Edges, and Align Top Edges. That's the one we want. So that will align the box or the frame on the right to the top of the frame on the left, which is just done. I could change that. I could let's just undo that. I could choose align to the bottom edge as well if I wanted to do that, but I'm just going to do align to top edge like that. All right. Now I've got this frame here and I want to have another frame exactly the same size as that down here. So what I can do is click on that frame with the selection tool, and I can hold down the Alt or Option key, and that allows me to duplicate this shape. Now I want a little bit of space between there, and actually I want a little bit of space there as well. Okay, so I've got a little bit of space between each image here. So just holding down the Alt or Option key allows me to click and drag to duplicate that shape. But what I want to do is I want this here, I want this, the bottom of this frame here to meet up with the bottom of this frame here. So what I can do is I can either click and drag from the bottom of that frame and drag it down, but what that does is it just resizes this frame here. It doesn't keep it the same as the frame on top. So I'll undo, and the other thing that I can do instead is hold down Shift to select both frames, and then click and drag on the bottom of that frame, and that will resize both of them to fit in there. Okay, so you could do that on the other side as well if you wanted to, like that. So when you've got two frames selected, you can resize both of them at the same time. Okay, so there we have it. We've got 1, 2, 3 frames, and what I'll do now is create another frame down the bottom here, but this time I'm going to use the, undo, I just grabbed the ellipse tool. Sorry, I'm going to long press the rectangle frame tool, and I'm going to change it to the ellipse frame tool. And I'm going to put that down here, just like that. Okay, now these frames are placeholders for content that I'm going to add, and I'm going to add images into these frames. Okay, so I've got some images here in my assets folder, and I want to drag this image here onto this frame here. All right, now that will place the image in the frame. The image is actually quite large, so it's filled up the entire frame, but it's really zoomed in. So I want to actually resize this image. So I can click and drag to move the image around that frame. And I'll just grab the edges with the selection tool, hold down Shift, and I'm going to just resize this, shrink it right down, just so it fills the frame, but not so that it's actually so zoomed in that it's pixelated. Okay, now that frame has actually got content in it. Now it's got an image in there, so you can see that the X is actually gone from that frame when we move the image around. But just move the image around, place it where you want it, and click out of there, and now we have a frame there that is filled with an image. And we could do the same thing with the ellipse frame. So we could drag an image into that frame as well. And it will use the shape of the frame to actually place that image. Again, we can resize it. So click on the image and then just move it around using the size that you want. Just like that. Okay, so that's basically how to add frames to an InDesign document, and then how to use those frames as placeholders, and then to add images to later and work with. So there's a lot more that you can do with frames. So just start by using either the rectangle frame tool or the ellipse frame tool or polygon frame tool to set up a layout. So to add placeholders for the content that you're going to add to your document later. And then you can use those frames to manipulate different images, work with your content. Thanks for watching.